I think we're having a little difficulty here with our sound. Rick or Danielle, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Dee Dee. It's Danielle.
Okay, okay, great. We're ready to go. If y'all want to go ahead and get started.
All right, great. Well, thank you, Dee Dee, and thank you, everyone, for joining. What we want to talk about today is one of Sage's solutions, which is called Sage Time. So Sage Time is a completely cloud-based solution, which gives us lots of ways to not only enter time, but have managerial and admin access, but also with all the controls in place to make sure that people are entering and accessing the application where you expect them to. So I'd like to get started first of all to talk about the different ways that we can clock in and out and enter time even through timesheet through Sage Time. We can support, you know, what we classically think as time clocks. So first of all, our very easy to use badge clock, for instance. If it's just easier in a location to just utilize a clock, this utilizes a proximity badge. So this can go really in any environment where that employee would be able to utilize a badge to wave in front of the reader and you know, be able to easily clock in, clock out. And again, this all of our clocks communicate via an Ethernet connection through a network on premise to make sure that to be able to clock to pull that twice a minute. So you're always looking at real time, pretty much real time punches. Okay, so this is one version. Another way we have to collect time would be our hand punch clock. So these have been around forever, and this is a more secure way to clock in and out. The individual, they're actually matching a template of the hand under the plate. There is actually a camera up top, so the employee puts in a PIN number and actually puts their hand underneath, and the camera reads that hand from the top down. So it's not reading it from the bottom up, it's reading it from the top down. So this way it has to match that person. Let me get back to my pointer. And we have another clock, which is called our Prodigy. This is really our custom clock. So this clock does a lot. First of all, you wouldn't need an actual proper network, and it doesn't need a static IP address. You can actually use it right through just an internet service provider router, as it finds its own way to the internet, not only pulls punches, but gets information down from new information down from the database. This is also a great way, let's say in like a manufacturing situation where a retail situation, we want to control the employee's time around their schedule. Well, this actually has parameters that can be set, so we can utilize what's called schedule lockout. So that helps tighten up that schedule so the employee is not really stretching the time and adding more time to their week, really cutting down on overtime costs, as well as a more secure way of fingerprint. So the fingerprint method we really suggest for specific environments, cleaner, more office environment, would not be a great solution for maybe more of an industrial environment. So again, we're always probing into you know, your business and you know what you're going to use it for to really provide the best solution for you. So these are some of our hardware options. We also have more electronic options. One being what we're very proud of is our mobile app. So our mobile app can be utilized on either iPhone device, you know, Apple devices like iPhone or iPad, can be utilized on Android devices, tablets or smartphones, also can be utilized on a desktop. The cost center information, if that employee is required to allocate time to cost centers, that's readily available in pull down or type search. Green to clock in, red to clock out, very easy. Can be used in a building, let's say, as a time clock, as an inexpensive alternative to a time clock, where then you just need wireless service to be able to communicate back to Sage Time. Again, all communicating within about twice a minute. You can always set not only geofencing, so let's say we want to control where that employee is allowed to clock in and out of. We want them at a location. We want them at a job site. We want them at our place of business. We can geofence and say, to clock in, you have to be within this parameter or this address. Also, it always does track by GPS location. So even if you don't have that fencing set up, it is always tracking those punches by where they were when they clocked in and clocked out, which then is reflected in an admin access. You're able to access not only that GPS information translated onto more of a map, but you can also search by a query, either by job or by date or by employee, and get more of a log view of those results. The punches are always populating to Sage Time, but you're actually able to manage that GPS data as well and employee location. It's not a breadcrumb app, so that's not something we promote. It's by actual punch or transfer transaction where that GPS pin will be posted. Okay. So a few other features through the mobile app is not only are the employee allowed to get to punch history, but actually able to get to time off requests, which we'll touch on when we get to the actual application, because it actually brings you to the same place, to a mobile site, where the employee is able to see not only what their balances are, but actually ask for time off, and they can do that again all through the mobile app. This is another way to go about it. It also has the feature, again, that can be utilized called facial recognition. That would be limited to using an Android device, but what it would do is it would actually match the face and verify that that's the correct person to punch in under that employee number. With an Apple device, it'll capture the picture, but it won't do reject if it's not the right person, and that's just a licensing thing. So we can explain that further if that, again, becomes a scenario that you'd like to explore. And yet another way to clock in and out is going to be right through the application with our clock settings, where an employee can actually punch in, punch out right through the web. Again, works on any browser. So that employee would have a login and a password and be able to clock in just like that. Pretty easy. Oh, I closed out that timesheet, so said I didn't have permission to punch. You can clock in, clock out. You can even transfer. Let me show you the cost centers. So it can actually provide the list of cost centers, again, if that employee is either clocking into not their home department or they're transferring departments. All right. The employee can even log into their own account. So this is just their people, or just their information, their timesheet. They can look at a calculated detail. They can look at their actual punches. They can see where they may have missed a punch. Also, this is the place where we talked about time off options. This is where, again, that employee will be able to access not only their current balance, also a click would show them history, as well as here to the left, they're actually able to request time off. So again, even if they're doing it through a mobile browser, they can tap through these choices. So let's say they're going to take vacation. They can choose a single day. They can choose multiple days. Let's say they're taking that proverbial week off. Wouldn't that be nice? And let's say they can give a comment. Family vacation, spoke to John. He will cover my shift. So again, they could, or however you spell spoke. There we go. So this way, when you submit the request, an actual email goes to the approver. So this way, as the employee, you can convey information through this request, and it again appears in their email. Okay? So those are our clock in and clock out options. So we have clocks, we have a mobile app, we have an online access. We also have a couple of other ways to enter time. Say it's a business structure where the culture is more timesheet. The employees are filling out their own time. But this gives not only an easy electronic way to do it, but it's all in one place for then the approvers to be able to access that time information anytime they need to. So we do have what's called a start-stop timesheet. And I like this timesheet if that job description requires a lot of detail, say every day. So let's say, again, cost center columns can be created, pull downs, so the employee is able to easily choose proper cost centers. And a little scroll here, able to put in the total time, the start and end time, or the total time. They can just put in the total time a day. I have another simpler timesheet called a bulk hours timesheet, but why, again, we might use this is that so then they can organize Monday. Then they can organize Tuesday. You can add cost centers or add rows to add more detail to a day as well. So again, every company setup is going to be different. Their complexity or simplicity is going to be, again, specific to that company. So that's how those timesheets will be set up. Again, up here in the top left are going to be the same time off options as well, no matter what timesheet we're in. Okay. Our other timesheet is going to be our bulk hours timesheet. This again is that very simple total hours per cost center per day. So it shows more of a grid going sideways. And again, we can have these set so they're pre-populated so that employees not having to recreate their timesheet every week. We can have maybe even hours auto-populated so that they can just make changes that may have happened, or time off will overwrite worked hours that may have been auto-populated from a schedule. So lots of ways to more automate this and just have the employee make changes or have them fill it all out on their own. So you see, very flexible in the way to be able to enter time. So what that culminates to is a very comprehensive managerial or admin access to see data. So I actually just simplified this dashboard for another client. So I'm actually going to edit this. So I would like to see attendance board because I have employees that are punching in and out. I want to see who's here. I do want to see missing punches. That's important to me. So I can click and drag and really create this page to be exactly what I want it to be. Lots of options here on the right that I can drag to the left. I think these four will show us the data that we need. So this dashboard you'll want to create for a manager or an admin so they get that immediate information that they're looking for from the punches that are happening throughout the day and throughout the week. So like I said, punches are populating back here within 30 seconds, if not real time, if they're doing it online. Where again, we're able to see who's clocked in and who isn't. We're able to see exceptions, who came in early, who came in late. So these exceptions can be predefined so that if an employer doesn't care if they really come in early, but they want to know if they leave early, or they want to know just when there's absences, we can predefine what they consider exceptions, and again, that's what will show up in the window. Can also have windows of missing punches. So let's say we're looking at the last week where I may have a missing punch, so it shows me missing an end punch, and when I tap the icon, it takes me right to the timesheet that I need to make that change. And again, let's say I know they left at 7:30. if I tap 730 and hit tab, it knows 7:30 p.m. would be the logical time. So that starts to cut down on editing time because you're able to do these couple little shortcuts. If I go to leave the page without saving it, it does stop me, so it's goof proof. So I am actually going to leave that missing punch there. And again, time off. So this again is something that needs to be addressed pretty quickly. So I'm able to see all of my employees and who's asking for what days off. And it even highlights for me, hey, someone else is already off on this day, so before we approve John, let's take a look at who else is off that day. So I just click that link, and I'm able to see not only John, but Casey's already off that day. So then I can make a decision, is that going to be a scheduling conflict, or is that going to be too many people out at one time? And I'm able to approve from this flag or reject from this flag. If you ever have a question about an icon, typically you can just wave over it and it'll tell you exactly what it is. And I'm able to see their time off counts again right here. So again, with this application, all the informational icons are to the left, so you have a clean line item and just hop into the line items that you need to double check, edit, make changes, and so it's always tucked to the left there. Okay. And so I'm always able to check their balances. There's some ways to eliminate negatives. We can stop it so the employee can't even ask unless they have enough time at that point. We can say you can draw into 20 hours a year into the negative, let's say. You can set the parameter where then disclaimers pop up when they're asking and when it may be attempted to be approved, that it is creating a negative balance. Or you can just let it flow free and leave it up to the managers to decide should it be approved or not. Okay. So some of the rules that can drive this in the back end. So talking about access. So I know we talked about some pretty open ways, a mobile app and online punching and online time entry. You can actually control, though, where that employee is allowed to clock in and out of. The mobile control, first of all, it's always tracked by GPS. You're allowing that specific employee to even access the mobile app, and they need pretty specific instructions to get it set up. It's not difficult, but there's some pretty specific information they'll need to know. And if they're logging in and out through the web, we can actually control where they're allowed to do that based on IP address and IP range. So if within your network and gateway there's a range of the a workstation or certain workstations of where that falls, we can work with the IT and actually create a range where they're allowed to. And if they try to access it outside of that allowed range, they wouldn't be allowed to, and you can actually get a notification letting you know they attempted it. So this way, whatever method they're using it where you expect them to use it. One of the great features here, excuse me, is going to be the time off management. We are able to build rules and even multiple policies for even maybe different job descriptions or job categories so that time off is calculated correctly. And it's actually able to do some multi-tier functions like maybe looking at seniority and anniversary date to bump to the next level, but everyone rolls over in the first of the year. Not easily done in excuse me, not easily done in a lot of payroll applications. So again, and it gives you a lot of different anchor date choices. Like a start or a hire date. If maybe you take on a new company, you take on another firm and you say, as a benefit to our employees that we're bringing on, we're going to use your old seniority date as your benefit date, and but we're still going to keep track of your start or hire date. So we can even build a time off policy based on that. So lots of options, even adjustment date options. You can build a waiting period for brand new employees. Maybe you make them wait or work for you for so long before they get it, even if they're actually earning it during that time, and that's not granted until the waiting period's over. Controlling carryover settings, if you want to zero it out. If you're maybe a company that might move the overage to, say, like a frozen bucket, and then they're accruing in the new year with that, as well as, again, that negative. So if they do borrow into their next year, you won't lose that negative number just because you went through a rollover date. It will actually carry that over just like it was a positive number. So they're still earning it back from you. And the seniority tiers are built into the same rules, so no having multiple rules purely based on seniority. And you can accrue it in all these different ways by once a year they get a grant, or if they accrue it by pay period. Month, you can set simple schedules or custom pay period, however you need that. I mean, it's very, 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 very flexible. It's not a lot of times I have to say no. You can even do it based on hours worked. It doesn't necessarily need to be strictly on tenure. Okay. You could do blackout days. Also, I love this feature. Again, it's just one more way that it automates it for you. Holidays. So without having to recreate a holiday list every year and having to look up those dates, because I'm sure none of you have anything to do in December besides worry about the holidays for the next year. This actually, we program it once, and then it finds that date for you into the future, and it keeps populating at least 2 years in the future. And you can actually populate, say, Memorial Day or Labor Day by that day in the month that it lands, so the last Monday of May. And it actually finds the last Monday of May for you, again, into the next couple of years. So as 2016 ends, on that January 1, you would see everything shift one to the left, and 2019 would have populated. Same with things that are on a date that could land on a weekend. You can set weekend rules if you would rather populate the weekend to either the closest weekday, or maybe you're always closed then on the Friday. You can set it that way. And then probably the most important part of this is going to be your payrolls. So part of the process is an actual statement of work that goes to each new client that asks all of these sections and all of these questions as to how they need it set up, because every client is set up to their own specifications. Every client is completely different. So we need that detail ahead of time. So we have a standardized form that comes online that you're able to fill out, and for just this reason. So first of all, everybody has a different definition of lunch and lunch length and how they want that to work. They always want a punch, or maybe you'd like to, if you see a punch, treat it this way. If you don't see a punch, then deduct it and treat it this way. So it does very well in multi-layered rules. Again, we can specifically define the exceptions that a company would be looking for, like who's early, who's late, who's absent, who didn't work enough hours, who worked too long of a day, who skipped lunch. So again, whatever exception the company's looking for, we can define it specifically. If maybe a job type or a work scenario creates an extra flat pay for something, or there's a reason why you would need to have a guaranteed shift. So a lot of municipalities will have jobs that if you work a minimum of this many hours, you're going to get paid for the whole 8, so that kind of scenario. Lots of ways to round. Can be very specific, can round in punches differently than out punches. Then holiday pay. So not only defining holiday pay, but also can define the eligibility. So defining things like, we need for you to work before or after the holiday. We need for you to work a minimum amount of hours for the week, or be with us for so long before holiday pay is populated for you. So again, so it's just populating to those who should get it and utilizing that calendar that we just talked about. And you can also define worked on rules separately if that's ever the case with that company. Overtime, so whatever scenario puts that pay into a time and a half, whether it be the amount of hours, or if you have any kind of division in California where you need to accommodate that over 8 and then the over 40 and then the over 60 rule. In December, when the new overtime rules will come into effect, where that salary minimum has been raised considerably, again, able to take care of those overtime rules. We can build rate tables too. So I think this is a really cool thing that it does. Not only can we build like a group assignment of rate tables, so even by cost center or charge code, you're able to assign a rate to that work. You can build personal rate tables, so if that individual makes certain rates based on what they do or how they allocate their time, personal rate tables can be built. So this way, when it's uploaded to payroll, those rates are already accounted for. And shift premium, so if there's ever a premium pay because of time of day, day of the week type of work. And this would be just an additional dollar amount to their base rate, not necessarily a rate change. So, all right. So with that, when it's time to audit timesheets, to correct timesheets, those rules are already applied to these timesheets. So we're able to take a breeze through these timesheets. And let's say we want to look at Ashley because it shows she has a missing punch right here. And so I want to hop into Friday, and the link always takes you to the daily detail. And here we are back in Ashley's timesheet where she punched in at 12:30. We want to punch her out at 3:30. Maybe we even want to add some sick time because she left early, and we can do this and it'll deduct from their balance just like they requested it. And everything does populate to a an audit trail, so you can always see what was edited, how, who did it, when they did it, what was a change perhaps that was made. So let's say 5 hours of sick time. All right. And if I go to leave the page without saving it, it does stop me. So I want to make sure that I save my work. And then the back button takes me back to the list where I start, so I can continue to the next timesheet and the next timesheet. And all I want to do is I want to mark these off when I'm done evaluating them and mark them as approved. So especially if you have a managerial level in the middle to then an admin level, it's going to actually export the payroll, export the file to payroll. That way they're able to do this triple check. So the last step to get this up into the payroll, and it's going to be the same whether you're using Sage 100 for payroll and utilizing, you'll need to utilize a visual integrator with that. Or maybe you might have another payroll method and you're using Sage 100 for, strictly accounting. Again, we can all work together with that and typically accommodate exports to most payroll versions. So what this does is it triple checks everything that happened, making sure first of all my leave requests were all answered, making sure secondly that my timesheets have all been reviewed and approved. So it tells me I have 3 open timesheets. So all I'm doing is I'm clicking this link and it gives me that information. So possibly these people truly did not work. So that'll be fine and we can leave that, or we can go back and approve them and correct them for the manager. And this all, again, comes into a calculated data file. No rekeying, no printing a report and rekeying everything. It's all going to be here. So that's going to be time, possibly time allocated to department or cost center, possibly rates attached to those cost definitions, and again, any of that department and labor breakdown is going to be included in this. You're just uploading this and then going through your regular payroll process without having to rekey all of your time data. So the last thing I'd like to touch on is just its reporting capability. So as you can see, it's got a lot of, let's say, pre-constructed reports, but every single report can be edited, made the way you want, several versions of the same structure created. I'm able to not only choose my columns that I'd like in this, I can change it at any point. I can take out location, and let's say I want to add department. I can scroll down here and look for what I'm looking for. I can even search here for available columns, DEP. There's my department. In selecting those columns, now I've got my layout the way I like it, and if I wave up top and I see a G, that means I can group by. So now I can get a subtotal by my department allocations. And anything I create, I can choose a date range, set calendar ranges, which are this week, this year, last week, last so many days, whatever set calendar range I might want, or some date range, maybe just a specific pay period. And anything I make, I can populate to a PDF or Excel spreadsheet literally within a click. So you can create what you like and then populate it to a format that you might want to use. So really easy. And again, if this is a layout that you want, you just go to your settings and you save it, and it slides up here under My Saved Report. So everything you created and saved is now in your own special list. So you can go back to it. You can rerun it from here. Not only rerun it, but also edit it again. I can also take any report that I've created and create email configuration, which means I can set it up to run at a specific time or a specific day, multiple days. Say Monday through Friday I want this to run, who I want it to go to, and what format I'd like it to go out in. So HTML would be that web snapshot, or maybe I want it to go out in PDF or Excel, which then I can add a password to. And now it just runs. Now you've scheduled it and it'll just run. So if you want a total hours report to go to everyone every day, an approaching overtime report we can create, and again, this is something that we schedule then and it runs. So reporting is pretty powerful, and again, we always run through in training how, what are you looking for in reporting, and it's one of the questions also on the statement of work. And so we can kind of help you to direct you to, hey, here might be a couple that you like. Maybe you want to change it around. Here's how you select columns and adjust order and all that. So with the process, our training is always to train, after the database has been completed by us, to go through a quality assurance to make sure that we've set it up the way you needed it, to then also train on the admin level first. So again, make sure really all bases have been covered. And then if you have a managerial level, we actually train the manager separately for you, and all of the things are recorded. So you can access them later. They're yours, you own them, you have them, you can use them as you need to train either new staff or to use it as a review or for your backup to help you to be able to review exactly how to go through time and timesheets and then upload a payroll. So that is really Sage Time. I'd like to open it now to questions, comments, more features, if anybody has anything.
Yeah, there is a question box. They are on mute at this point, Danielle. They can write in the question box, and we will be happy to answer for them. So if we want to take a few minutes for y'all to write any questions in. Thank you. Well, I guess you did a great job. They don't seem to have any questions now. So at this point, but I do want everyone to know that we did record this, so I will be sending an email to all the participants with the recording as well as information regarding Jody Patterson if you want more information. Jody's in our office and she can get you started if you'd like more information regarding Sage Time. But we thank you so much, Danielle, for taking the time to show us this today, and we hope to work with you soon.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Bye, everybody. Have a good day.